Okay, there you are. So
Cool.
you're recording. You can minimize that now.
I'm going to minimize this too. And, all this.
Okay, so let me get everyone corralled.
All right, Joey, who's going to help move some of these tables?
I can do.
I'm happy to help.
The lithium ion batteries, are they lighter weight?
Because I can put my computer up here and the audio towards everyone. Well, I don't need. Well, once the video's done, then I don't need the. Hello. Good. How are you?
Why don't you go in the There's only one person. Hey guys.
I'll tweet that
So we're,
if anyone happens to have it.
yeah, do you guys have an external speaker here by chance? Anyone? No, I don't think so. Okay.
Where's the shot?
Josh. Huh. Yeah, because we had a video, and so I also wanted to tell everybody about a field trip on August 20th. Cynthia, you just took a bite.
Run, Spike.
So you guys moved the space. It's in Penelope. So and it's free. It's close to the top. I'll send out a okay, if you have somebody like your partner or caregiver come with you, that's cool.
Yeah, we're asking if people limit their guests to one, and if
Okay, so I'm gonna just pass around the sign up list and the Okay. So you want to go ahead?
Okay, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Brittany. I live in San Francisco, but I'm from the East Coast originally. I'm the speaker for tonight. I run an organization called Able Thrive. My dad's been a quadriplegic, 12 years old. He was in a car accident at C67. And so in order to give a better about kind of where I came from and my family story and what we're doing with Able Thrive, we were recently featured in a documentary that 18 did. And so we have that segment. The tricky part is we're going to see if you can hear because I have it at max on my computer, but we don't have like a full sound system. So if it's terrible, we'll cut it and I'll just tell you the story. But if everyone can hear it and it works, it's a way better way to tell the story than me just saying it. So we'll give it a shot. I'm going to face the space.
You totally like that. And then did you turn off?
I didn't turn off. I minimized.
Got it.
I put this full screen.
Got it. Cool.
I like to get out and do things. I've been living in the country for a long time. I love the country, but I like to get out and see people sometimes, sit outside. I'm fairly independent. I do everything myself. I don't have to rely on anybody to take care of me, which took about 4 years to achieve. Same kind of world as most people live in. Just takes a little longer. I used to rollerblade, windsurf, and sail, and run, bike. Now I can't do that, so I do wheel a couple miles a day just for exercise. I do like to garden too. I adapted a bunch of tools, and it's just like everything else. You just find something that works for you. Now I can turn over the soil myself. I can plant things. I can harvest. Thanks. Thanks a lot.
For your harvest.
Thanks. Won't be hungry this winter. It's not pretty. You know, it looks like I'm losing a fight with an implement, but I enjoy it.
You don't even like tomatoes.
One thing that I've gotten to watch in my dad's journey through all this has been how he's found ways to either reconnect with passions he had or develop new ones and find ways for him to do it as independently as possible. I mean, he loved the woods in the back of the house, but getting over that in a manual wheelchair is tough. He found people who could put stones down there to clear out an area so he could still get back in the woods. Even just for him to, health and fitness. I mean, he will go out and he knows exactly where the half-mile marker is so he can go push a mile. So whenever I'm home, we'll go take a walk together. We call them rolling strolls.
I like to work with my hands and build things. I repurpose things like old wine boxes to make tables, that sort of thing. I've adapted a lot of tools to work with the hand. This is my grabbing. This is my kind of pointing hand and pushing hand. Your hands want to curl up when you get paralyzed. I used to sleep on this hand to flatten it. This is going to be my hand shaking hand. I guess it's kind of like people playing golf. I mean, you have to figure the best angle to do it.
My dad is powerful. It took a lot of guts and determination to get through every element of adapting his life. But he's also powerful in his example. You know, he doesn't have an agenda other than most of his life and trying to better as many people as possible in the process.
December 21st, 1998, I was driving home from work, and I picked up my son first, went to the grocery store, and we were driving back. I was in a bit of a hurry, and that's the winter solstice, so it got dark early. And I pulled up to a stop sign, and the car coming, I pulled out, another car T-boned into the side of me, flipped my car over, and I was paralyzed instantly from that moment. I broke my neck, and my son went through the windshield and he died of severe head trauma. I was flown into University of Pennsylvania Hospital, spent a month in intensive care. This is vertebrae, let's pretend this is a fist. They're sitting on top of each other. This is C6 and this is C7. When I hit, they actually changed position. So they had to stretch my neck out. I mean, it was 11-hour surgery in shifts they did it. And then I came out of it, and I had a metal band around my head with 4 bolts holding on, the jacket going down, and you're like a different species. All of a sudden, you're not a biped anymore. You have to find out how to get around. You have to find out how to eat. I couldn't swallow. there were numerous problems I had to deal with, and one after another, deal with them as they come.
I learned that my brother before I knew what had happened to my dad. And so really all I wanted after knowing that was that I wanted my dad to survive. And I think it put a real framing on disability for me because I had my dad. I still got to keep him. And that was something that was really powerful for me even as a kid.
One of the things people tell me about Brittany, they always say, oh, you must be so proud of her accomplishments. You know, all that she's achieved and all she's done. And I say the thing I'm most proud of her is that she's a good human being. She's just very, very kind. Brittany is kind. Brittany is concerned about other people. And I'm just so proud of that.
In 2006, I was studying abroad in Southwest China, and I had a 1-month study project to explore the lives of people with disabilities. I went to a rehabilitation hospital in the city I was living in, and I met a man in his back, but he had more physical mobility than my dad. And so the first time I looked at him, I thought, okay, he's going to be fine. You know, he moves way more than my dad. He'll be good. He'll be able to be okay. But when I actually talked to him, he told me that he would spend the rest of his life in bed. Like, no question. And that was the first shock for me. It really was like a slap in the face because it was the first time I was forced to look at my family's situation objectively and realize that we had had so much at our disposal when my dad was hurt, and that allowed us to see that there was a potential and a way to live. I cried the whole bus ride home from that hospital. I couldn't answer the question, like, what would my life be like if I hadn't been from 1 hour outside of Philadelphia? You know, what would have happened to my family if I had been from somewhere that wasn't that close to the resources we had and the mentors we had that showed us what was.
One of the lucky things for me was I went to McGee Rehabilitation Hospital in Philadelphia, which was a great hospital. It's such a large community. You meet somebody there that plays guitar with hands like I have. I mean, it's amazing. If you're in nowhere where you don't really have that kind of resources, you have no idea what's available. Brittany was smart enough to put together, say, hey, you know, we can do these connections no matter who somebody is. And so she had the idea for Able Thrive.
Our mission is to empower people with disabilities and their families to maximize their potential and live well, and also to change the way that society views disability. It doesn't all have to be bad or negative, and that there are ways to overcome challenges. We have a website that features curated articles, videos, programs, and services from a global network of over 125 organizations, companies, and hospitals, pulling that all into one spot to make it easier for families to find the resources that they might need or want to figure out how to adapt and live well with their disability. When a family is presented with a disability, I think there's 5% that will live well every single obstacle, no matter what, on their own, they're going to make it happen. And I think there's probably also 5% on the other side, no matter what, maybe they wouldn't ever go for that kind of life. But to me, there's really 90% in the middle who are kind of on this seesaw, where depending on what inputs they get in that really critical, and for a lot of them, traumatic time, will depend whether they tip positive or negative. And there's too many people within that 90% who have no clue. The point of Able Thrive is to be present for those people, to give them this point to the resources that are already out there. They just don't know where they are, and the things that will help people maximize their independence and maximize their quality of life.
I will go on Able Thrive once in a while and then look at stuff, find out something new that I never knew, that I've been at this for a long time. I've been at this for 18 years.
How much shorter would it take someone who had a jump start and wasn't starting from zero the way he did? And I'm not the first person to do this. Knowing my dad, there was 2 things I knew he loved, that he had accepted he would never do again: dancing and traveling.
We used to go to Spain every 2 years and, you know, visit with some friends, stay with family, and they're almost like family. I mean, we go there and I've been almost everywhere in the country. Before I got hurt, I just fell in love with Europe. With quadriplegia, everything is a game of quarter inches. I'm afraid of having a problem on an airplane with wheelchair-related issues that I can't deal with. I don't care who you are, how tough you are, or what you've been through. The first time you look at your feet and you can't move them, you're going to freak out. And one of the things I do remember thinking about, which I spoke to my daughter, I was like, I'll never dance at her wedding, because I used to dance quite a bit. And when that day came, I was going to just basically graciously bow out and offer that dance to my new son-in-law.
I found out about that because the idea of that ever happening was kind of shocking. And it was mostly just out of how much dancing had become a pain point. Just because it was something that I remembered from when I was a kid doing with my dad, something I really treasured and valued. And so to have him give that up just made me sad. And I didn't want to be sad on my wedding.
She looked at me dead serious and said, no, I really want you to dance at my wedding. I'm like, okay, because I know I'm not going to talk her out of it. And I said, we've got to find a way. This is not something you just do.
He was ultimately willing to step out of his comfort zone, and he agreed that he would do it on the condition that we didn't look bad. Windmill, look at each. That put me into kind of overdrive. Actually, it was a version of what a lot of people go through with disabilities, trying to figure out how to do different things.
Sure enough, she found this woman, Diane DeCepolo, from Roll Call Wheelchair. It was a wheelchair dance group. We met at this gym, and she choreographed dance for us. It was surreal. It really was. I wasn't the least bit nervous.
His face just was like completely lit up. For me, it almost felt like I was seeing my dad in a way that I hadn't seen since I was a kid. This uninhibited, just free version of him.
For the first time, like, I was actually telling her what to do in the situation because she had forgotten a lot of it. I was like, don't forget this part, I'm talking her through it.
I totally forgot everything. As much as but thankfully Dad knew everything, so it's fine.
You know, when you're going to dance with another person, you're not performing so much as you're enjoying yourself. And that's what really happened with us, was that instead of performing in front of, 180 people or however many people were there, I was just dancing with my daughter. And I want a happy in my life.
When you get the choice, the city light again.
A little after the wedding, this idea comes up that maybe we should think about going back to Europe. The fact that that door was open was, to me, completely to this wall that had been totally blown through at the wedding. And after that, just the other elements that my dad had kind of put in the wings just were kind of back on the table. It makes me so happy to see him fully re-own everything that he had loved before his accident.
I think most people think about disability and they think tragedy. They think loss. They think disability. You're not able to do things.
I'm seeing plenty of examples of people living really interesting, lives, doing lots of different things, but they weren't being represented in this media portrayal, which typically is relegated to a hero narrative or a broken narrative.
It's just life. It's the way life happens. People always say, play the hand. That's what I'm doing.
There needs to be space to show these representations who live as they are and are just trying their best to live what's right for them, but it's not what we see. So until we can get to a point where you hear the word quadriplegic and you think someone like my dad rather than someone whose life is over, then we'll actually start to see the changes in society that I think are necessary to understand that disability doesn't have to be overcome to live a meaningful life.
I hope you did.
Thank you for that. Better way to tell the story than me just stand up and tell you. I came, to share today because I wanted to give a little bit more context on the resource that we built and what we're trying to do. Because what it comes down to for me is that, very much selfishly my survival after the accident came down to the resources we had, let alone my dad's and seeing what was possible for him. And basically what I felt a couple years ago, I quit my job to do this, and because what I realized is there's so much cool stuff, so many cool people doing such amazing, incredible things, and we still have the kind of overall perception of life with a wheelchair or life with some other kind of disability that people aren't living, or that it's automatically terrible, or that it is a death sentence while people are still living. So, but the problem is how the gap we want to fill is between the cool stuff that's happening and the people who would benefit. Because if you don't have a great support group like this, or you live far away, or you don't end up in a rehab unit, or even just my dad was in for months and now the average is 37 days. So, I mean, it's making it more difficult to actually understand how to go forward. And so what we do is we build relationships with organizations, hospitals, and blogs, and figure out the cool stuff that's happening, and then we pull it into one place. And what we've done, what we have on the website here, when you register, or if you sign up on the account, give me 1 second. I'm not going to sign up for a new account, so bear with me. So when you sign up on ablethrive.com, we cover 5 main categories. So activities, life skills, parenting, relationships, and travel. And so these are pre-selected because it's my account. But in theory, you pick what you like, what you're interested in seeing more about. And then you tell us the mobility of your arms. So I fill this out like my dad. So his arms move mostly fully. Then how much your fingers move. So my dad's fingers don't move at all. He doesn't have any trunk control or mobility. And leg mobility, he doesn't have any movement. And then there's a few other questions that we ask in terms of whether it's you or your loved one. So different resources depending on kind of who's looking. So for me, it's my relative. It's been a part of our life for over 5 years. And for spinal cord injury. And once you register, and just with those questions, you're directed to your AbleThrive feed, where what we've done is everything that we've ever found in the topics you told us you're interested in, we've pulled into one place so that you don't have to go through all these things on your own. So if you look here, we life skills. The Just For You section is all people who move like we said. And only skills or things that should be accessible to the mobility that you said you had. So we did pretty well because that's my dad's video, quadriplegics opening easy open cans. So if you go here, for example, lives on YouTube, lives elsewhere, but how many people could benefit from this more if they knew they had one place to go to learn from this video, and then one YouTube channel that they didn't know about, and then Craig Hospital, and then some other company. So we pull this all into a place so the video is embedded. You can just watch it there, but it's tied. Views go to the original person. We want to be a microphone for the stuff that's out there and the stuff people are already sharing. And then we do that in everything you told us you're interested in. So Just For You is very specifically tied to mobility. The general in the category of interest, if it's, one of them is, for example, my relationship with my body post-injury. Has nothing to do with how much your body moves, so it's tagged more generally. So you can learn from someone even if your body's not moving in the exact same way. And then we do that in every category you told us you're interested in. We break down each one, and right now we're pulling from over 186 blogs, organizations, companies, and hospitals in 13 countries. And right now we just started sharing with spinal cord injury hospitals so we can reach people who are a bit earlier in the game. So we're in about seven of those 7 hospitals right now. But yeah, this website's only a couple months old, so there's about 900 posts on it, and we're growing every day. We've got 10,000 visitors coming a month at least, and And now the goal is to just try to flip this responsibility system so that it's not on families like ours to be responsible for finding everything on our own, and make it see that we can actually make technology the way it's working for every other industry. I usually tell people if Netflix is telling us what movie to watch next, there's no reason that families with disabilities are figuring everything out on their own. But yeah, so I have some postcards here that I can pass out, and cards of mine. If it sounds like something of interest, you want to check it out. We'd love, I know everyone here kind of has different experiences and different backgrounds, but we'd love to hear any type of feedback as well, and hopefully actually be helpful if you've found things yet that might be of interest. And also we are always sharing stuff. So if you've got things to share, like we share a bunch of stuff from Judy's dancing, we've been sharing stuff about Alvarez travel stuff. So if you are part of an organization or just, have a blog in your head that you don't really feel like starting a blog, but you really would want to share something you learned or a quick video that you made that one time about how you do something, here's a place it can live, and you don't have to do anything to make it public or any effort. We'll give you credit when you need it. We'll direct you wherever, but we'll put it somewhere that will reach more people than any one of us can reach on our own. But yeah, so that's Able Thrive. I'm happy to take any questions. Yeah, no, well, the 13 countries are those that either are English-speaking or have a strong English population. To me, I wish I could have done everything yesterday, but one step at a time, we have to, if we can make this work for paralysis in English, then my goal would be that we can either translate and or ideally be creating a reach. Me encantaría tener los artículos en español, pero no tenemos los recursos ahora. ¿Ah? Cuando alguien quiere traducirlos o dar el dinero. So tenemos, we have networks in different countries. Like, so there's a woman that I know in Mexico who speaks English very well, and so we're in very close contact, and she's starting to do some. We're talking about how to start to do some of the necessary end of networking in Mexico, so that when we can move forward, like that would be better. So we're not starting from zero, but yeah, we're a nonprofit tech startup, so that's ultimately what it comes down to. But I'm hoping, the more people we can get onto the platform using it and evaluating it in English, the more hospitals we can get into, any of those kinds of things, prove the point. And if we can prove the point, then it'll be easier for me to demonstrate the need, and we can get more of the support to represent into different languages. And I mean, ultimately, the longer goal for Able Thrive is different disabilities as well. This is just the beginning for us. But as you guys now know, paralysis is how this all started for me. So, and that's what a lot of our team members also live with. So that's what we're sharing. Yeah.
I just want to say thank you because I was in here. I grew up in Mountain Valley, Colorado. And, I had no idea that. And so to have a resource like this is really because if everybody gets contact information, go with math, that everybody knows. If we have technology, we can spread the word and make it easy to way and all email us.
Thanks, Judy. That's awesome. Thank you. I didn't even think of that, but yeah, that's great. If you want to do that, that would be super helpful.
I'm going to do that tomorrow.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, and we'll get it back up on our next one.
Thank you. The other, AbleThrive.com. Yeah, I've got a bunch of postcards here, so I can pass them out. Yeah, sure. And I have cards for myself too. It's like for my own contact information, but on those cards it has like hello at AbleDrive to me. So we're not that fancy. So, and I do return them, but I do have cards. Otherwise, it's Brittany at AbleDrive.com. Not too tricky. Any other questions? Yeah. We're not that fancy yet. I would love to get to that point to just go faster, but we absolutely take recommendations for original stuff. So if you're aware of a YouTube channel that we haven't found yet, and you send that to us, we'll then go and try to build a relationship there and start to pull that stuff in. But everything that's on the site has been read and or watched by either me or our content manager, who's the full-time caregiver of her husband, who's a ventilator paraplegic. So, at the end of the day, it's mostly lifestyle, not like we're getting medical advice. But everything passes the test of like at least someone who's really actually in a wheelchair is doing this and talking about it. And we do get recommendations from people all the time. Have you heard of this organization? Have you found this YouTube channel? Or people who are and then that kicks to Kristen, and then we'll get up on the site. Yeah, so there's a contact. It's weird up here at the top because I'm in my admin account. You guys won't see that, but up here, it's at the bottom, I guess. Like we have contact here. Oops, contact here. And then allies is what we call basically any of the organizations, companies, hospitals, and blogs that we pull from. And not everyone has content. Longer term plans. Sounds random, but we actually have an outlet in Singapore. I used to live there, otherwise it's totally random. And now how to also be relevant on the local level. So we actually are on a weekly basis in Singapore. We share what's going on. So if you're, who else could go if they knew about it and be in a local area. So we started with the stuff that's global because it doesn't really matter what country you're in when you're trying to get into bed or get dressed or date or whatever. So on a local, that was something we're playing around with. Also, how can we be also getting people to show up at more stuff to facilitate communication. So that's something we started in Singapore, and something we hope to bring here into different cities as well. So some of our allies don't necessarily have content that we're sharing, but like Fork, for example, they're one of them because I know they do some stuff around here. Get to the point where we're able to actually recommend on more local level. The goal will be that you'll see all the stuff I just showed you, plus, hey, hand cycling on Saturday, or support group, spinal cord injury support group, some stuff that's public and open that help on that front to be a part of expanding, hopefully, or someone.
Find me an oboe chair.
I unfortunately can't help how expensive things are, and that's something that it hurts for everyone. But what I'm hoping is that the more that people with disabilities long term are brought together and collaborating and knowing what's happening, the more we can actually put some energy behind some of the changes that need to happen. Stuff accessible, stuff should be affordable. People should be able to live their lives. A lot of people are spread out. They don't necessarily know which child is being taught when and where. And so, that's like longer term vision because it starts with in my opinion, that people have to see value in themselves. And again, my growing up, had my dad not seen value in himself in the future, I don't know where I would be. And so I don't want to see that happen to anyone when we're dealing with human beings who are otherwise full. No, so I guess that's a good point to bring up. So we have articles and videos right now. We're just about to start putting in our first product. When we do negotiate things, we do get discounts for users. So we're working on that. So products will be coming in because we want to help people find things like that. And then on a level of other opportunities like programs, like I mentioned, locally, there's also like grants and types like that we haven't had the capacity to do yet, but again, it's something, an example of someone in the wings kind of is the Challenged Athletes Foundation, who will give grants for athletes with disabilities literally anywhere in the world. So the goal would be something like that, or whether it's a government, or the more we get to know about who this is accessible to, or who the opportunity is accessible to, the goal is as we get better and better with technology and deliver it, if it's a California thing, and someone's in California, to me it should be in front of their face. It shouldn't be something that you guys do through 30 websites that don't work or break. And so, I kind of see this a lot further than it is, but the goal will be is we can be more and more knowledgeable. The vehicle is because it's doing a lot of really impressive things in pretty much every other sector, and it's time to upgrade on this side. So I hope to get there sooner rather than later. Yeah. We have like 1 or 2 articles up about it broadly, like big picture, but the issue is state level, how complicated and different it can be. Oh, well, whatever one is state oriented. Clearly, I don't know very much. So on a national, then that must be what we've written about. Is we do have I know we have 2 posts about navigating that big picture, but kind of back to what you were saying about funding opportunities and stuff. Like at the end of the day, we can figure out kind of what's there and what are the nuances of that make that accessible. We want to bring that to. One thing that I've also been figuring out is that some people do have it figured out already. So I don't want to figure it out for myself. I want to figure out who's figured it out and bring that in. Because sometimes, we know of an organization that has all those resources by state. And they've already done all that work. So our job isn't to reinvent the wheel. Our job is to figure out where are the answers and make sure we're directing people to them. So yeah, that's where it comes back to kind of the recommendations. If you guys are aware of pockets of gems of information or organizations who have funding resources or things that we don't know yet, by all means, our goal is to see a map. So if everyone starts to get a habit of start to share and report things to us, the goal would be that we can repackage that and put that back out to the world in ways that make it easier for the people who need it or who would benefit. So send me everything. Basically. So because if we could, everyone can keep doing the cool stuff they're doing, and I don't have to do any innovative, I don't need to be doing a dance troupe in this area because Judy has one. I don't need to be sending people to Patagonia because Eleanor is. So it's I'd rather just make sure people know that those things are happening, so we can all wheel and just make everything a bit more. Thank you for having me. So I'm happy to talk and meet all you guys, and I have parts for myself individually. But thank you for having me.
Get some people on boards, sailboards.
Paddleboards.
No, with a sail.
With a sail?
What about in a wheelchair with a sail?
No.
That sounds dangerous, but otherwise fun.
It sounds dangerous. Can you bring up the Join Me app and see if there's...
Oh, yeah. Yep. Is that okay?
Yeah, totally fine.
Okay.
That's awesome.
I didn't disconnect.
No, when do I? So go here real quick and then just say
That was
stop
okay that I
recording.
minimized it, right?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.